Every generation seems to inherit the same argument. Men think women don't understand their burdens. Women think men don't understand theirs. And somewhere in the middle, millions of people spend their lives trying to prove that their pain deserves first place. Recently, two of my friends found themselves in a very spirited conversation, the kind that starts as a discussion and slowly mutates into a courtroom trial. For a good hour or two, there was a noticeable rift between them. To their credit, they eventually arrived at a good conclusion. But if I told you their genders, you'd probably guess the topic within 3 attempts. If you're older than 15, you've almost certainly witnessed it yourself. The strange human impulse to take the immeasurable weight of lived experience and place it on a scale, just to see which side tilts furthest downward. The never-ending debate, man versus woman. Who has it worse? It's less a discussion and more a gruesome perennial tournament. The Oppression Olympics, a competition where we tally traumas like points, compare scars like trophies, and hope to secure the gold medal and hardest done by. But suffering isn't a monolith. It's a spectrum, a language with dialects. To ask who has it worse is to mistake different prisons for different sentences. Both are confinement. The architecture is simply gendered. If you examine the feminine blueprint, the oppression women experience is often spectacularly visible. It is a panopticon where you are perpetually observed. For centuries, a woman's worth has been collateralized against her usefulness to others. Her capacity to nurture, to organize, to soothe, to beautify. The modern world didn't delete the code. It simply installed updates. The pressure remains. It's embedded in the bodily reality of existence. A man ages into distinguished. A woman ages into less visible. A wrinkle on him becomes evidence of wisdom. A wrinkle on her becomes evidence of decline. Her body becomes a public forum for unsolicited opinion. Its size, its shape, its clothing, its hair, its very existence in public space. Everyone seems entitled to commentary. The walk home at night is not merely a journey. It becomes a tactical exercise. Keys between fingers, the calculated confidence in her stride, the instinctive glance over her shoulder, the fake phone call, the location shared with a friend, the low-grade hum of vigilance playing continuously in the background, the soundtrack she never consciously chose. It is the exhaustion of being both the artwork and the security system. It appears in the professional world as well. Be competent, but not threatening. Ambitious, but not too ambitious. Assertive, but not abrasive. Authoritative, but never shrill. Lead, but don't forget to smile. Fight for a seat at the table only to discover the chair is wired. Lean forward and it's aggression. Show vulnerability and it's evidence you can't handle responsibility. Her career often becomes an obstacle course where the obstacles themselves are moving. Not because the standards are unclear, because perception keeps changing the finish line. And then there is the tyranny of the timeline. Every decision becomes shadowed by a countdown she never personally installed. Education, career, travel, marriage, motherhood. Even women who have no desire for children find themselves haunted by a clock everyone else insists on monitoring. Don't wait too long. It's framed as concern, but repeated often enough, it becomes a drumbeat. Her autonomy remains tethered to a future family she may or may not want. Now pivot. The masculine architecture. If the female experience is often one of visible friction, the male experience is often one of invisible compression. A pressure chamber. You are not perpetually observed. You are perpetually assessed. A man's value is rarely treated as inherent. It is accrued, earned, measured, conditional. It lives in his paycheck, his title, his competence, his usefulness. The uncomfortable truth many men quietly absorb is that love often feels unconditional only until they stop producing, lose the job, lose the status, lose the ability to provide. Watch how quickly the room changes. A retired man can spend decades sacrificing for his family, only to discover that once his utility disappears, so too does much of the attention he once received. A young man can spend months struggling emotionally and find that almost nobody notices until his performance begins to decline. The question is rarely, "How are you doing?" The question is, "What's wrong with you?" He is not taught to be a human being. He is taught to become a human doing. From boyhood, emotions are introduced as liabilities. Fear becomes cowardice. Sadness becomes weakness. Pain becomes something to endure privately. He is handed a script written in stoicism and deprived of the vocabulary needed to navigate his own inner world. His mental health is not a conversation. It is a secret, a hidden room he visits alone. The result is a loneliness so profound it becomes structural, not the loneliness of being physically alone, the loneliness of feeling fundamentally unseen. A man can spend years surrounded by coworkers, acquaintances, teammates, and even friends while never once feeling safe enough to reveal what is actually happening inside him. Many discover that vulnerability is welcomed in theory but penalized in practice. So they adapt. They compartmentalize, then compartmentalize the compartments, until eventually the walls begin to buckle under the pressure. The statistics become the scream his culture struggles to hear. Higher rates of completed suicide, higher rates of addiction, higher rates of homelessness, higher rates of deaths of despair. Not because men suffer more, but because many suffer silently until the silence becomes fatal. The performance requirements do not stop there. He must be strong but not rigid, successful but not arrogant, confident but not entitled, protective but not controlling, emotionally available but never emotionally overwhelming. In relationships, he is often evaluated not merely as a partner, but as a package. Part financial plan, part therapist, part bodyguard, part entertainer, part emotional anchor, part future security system, a paradox in a pair of jeans. And while many of these expectations are understandable individually, together they often become impossible. To fail at one role is human. To fail at several feels, to many men, like a failure of manhood itself. Perhaps nowhere is this more apparent than in the erasure of male victimhood. If a man is harassed, abused, manipulated, or assaulted, the architecture of masculinity itself can prevent him from naming the experience. The first question is often not, "What happened to you?" It is, "Why didn't you stop it?" His suffering is treated as evidence of incompetence. The stereotype designed to empower him becomes the cage that silences him. And so we return to the question, who has it worse? I think the question itself is the trap. It demands that we compare 1,000 paper cuts to internal bleeding. One injury is visible, the other is hidden. Both can leave a person broken. The female experience is often one of chronic, visible friction, the exhausting daily negotiation with a world that scrutinizes, judges, categorizes, and objectifies. The male experience is often one of acute, invisible pressure, the crushing burden of performing a role that nobody applauds, for an audience that only notices when you miss a line. One is the strain of constant assessment. The other is the strain of constant achievement. Both are exhausting, both are dehumanizing, and perhaps most importantly, they are not opposites, they are interlocking components of the same broken machine. The woman is told, "Your value is in how you are perceived." The man is told, "Your value is in what you can provide." different instructions, same reduction. Both are transformed from human beings into functions. Both are denied access to the full, messy, glorious spectrum of their humanity. We see the evidence not in who wins the debate, but in the casualty reports, in elevated rates of anxiety, depression, PTSD, harassment, and violence against women, in elevated rates of suicide, social isolation, addiction, and early mortality among men. These are not points on a scoreboard. They are symptoms of the same disease. A rigid, punishing, and fundamentally lonely script for what it means to be a person. So maybe we stop asking who has it worse. Maybe we stop comparing chains altogether. Maybe we begin by recognizing that we are all inmates in a prison of expectations, just housed in different cell blocks. Empathy is not a finite resource that must be rationed between teams. Understanding one person's pain does not require minimizing another's. The goal is not to crown a champion of suffering. It is to dismantle the arena. To build a world where a woman's ambition isn't interpreted as a threat, where a man's tears aren't interpreted as a failure, where safety isn't a gendered privilege, where vulnerability isn't a gendered flaw. We are not opponents in this. We are co-conspirators if we choose to be. The first step is to look across the divide, not to compare the weight of our chains, but to recognize the same longing for freedom in the other's eyes, and to realize that the key to one lock might just be in the other person's hand. Wherever you are right now, driving, lying awake, or just sitting alone with your thoughts, I'm glad our paths crossed for a little while. Take care of your mind, guard your heart, and don't rush the questions that take a lifetime to answer. Until next time, peace be with you.